It started subtly, as these things often do. A faint scent of rain on dry earth even on the sunniest days. A whisper of cold air that would snake around my ankles in a room with all the windows shut tight. I'd chalked it up to an old house settling, my mind playing tricks on me. I've always been a skeptic, you see. The kind of person who'd watch paranormal investigation shows and scoff at every creak and shadow. Ghosts were for campfires and late-night movies, not for my quiet, unassuming life in this century-old bungalow I'd just bought. The first time I heard it, I was in the kitchen, washing dishes. It was late, the kind of quiet that feels heavy. And through the sound of running water, I heard it. A soft, whimpering sound like a child trying to stifle a sob. I turned the faucet off, my heart doing a little jump in my chest. Silence. I stood there, dripping hands poised over the sink, listening. Nothing. Just the hum of the refrigerator. Must be the neighbors, I muttered to myself, though my nearest neighbor was a good 100 yards away. I dried my hands and tried to shake off the unease, but it happened again a few nights later. This time I was in bed, drifting off to sleep. The crying was clearer now, closer. It was a mournful, desolate sound that seemed to come from the hallway right outside my bedroom door. It was the sound of pure, undiluted grief. I lay frozen under the covers, my breath caught in my throat. Every horror movie trope I'd ever mocked came flooding back. Don't go out there. Don't investigate. I squeezed my eyes shut, pulling the blanket up to my chin, and just waited. The crying went on for what felt like an eternity before fading into the house, as usual groans and sighs. Sleep didn't come easily that night. The following days were a blur of anxiety. I started leaving lights on, playing music constantly to fill the oppressive silence. I jumped at every creak of the floorboards. I felt like I was being watched, a constant prickling sensation on the back of my neck. I began to notice other things too. A photograph on the mantelpiece would be slightly askew. A book I'd left on the coffee table would be on the floor. Small, insignificant things that, on their own, meant nothing. But together, they were weaving a tapestry of dread. One evening I was working late in my home office when the crying started again. This time it wasn't distant. It was in the room with me. My blood ran cold. I slowly turned my chair, scanning the dimly lit space. The sound was coming from the corner near an old armchair that came with the house. The air there was visibly colder. I could see my own breath fogging in front of me. The sobs were heartbreaking, raw, and full of a pain so deep it felt ancient. And then I saw it. It wasn't a figure, not really. It was more like a shimmer, a distortion in the air, like heat rising from pavement. But within that shimmer, I could just make out a small, hunched shape in the armchair. The shape was indistinct, but the grief it radiated was as real as the chair it sat in. It was a child. I don't know how I knew. I just did. The crying intensified, each sob a physical blow against my skepticism. My first instinct was to run, to pack a bag and never look back. But I didn't. Staring at that concentration of sorrow, fear was replaced by an overwhelming sense of pity. This wasn't something malicious. This was something trapped in an endless loop of sadness. Taking a shaky breath, I did the one thing I never thought I would do. I spoke to it. "What's wrong?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The crying stopped instantly. The silence that followed was somehow more terrifying than the noise. The shimmer in the corner wavered, and for a fleeting second, I saw the clear outline of a young boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, with tear tracks glistening on his pale cheeks. He was looking right at me, his eyes wide with a sorrow that no child should ever know. "I can't find my mother," a voice whispered back. It wasn't a voice that traveled through the air. It was a thought, placed directly inside my head. It was faint, distant, like an echo from a long time ago. The image of the boy dissolved back into a wavering distortion. Over the next few weeks, I learned his story. Not through words, but through feelings, images, and flashes of understanding that would come to me when he was near. His name was Thomas. He'd lived in this house a long, long time ago. He'd been sick, and one day his mother went to town to get a doctor. She never came back. A sudden storm, a washed-out bridge. He waited for her in that armchair, growing weaker, crying for a mother who would never return. He had died in that chair, waiting. I wasn't scared anymore. I was heartbroken for him. His presence wasn't a haunting. It was a memory, imprinted on the very fabric of the house. The crying wasn't meant to frighten me. It was all he knew. One night, as the familiar sobs began in the corner, I walked over and sat on the floor beside the armchair. I didn't see him, but I could feel his cold, sad energy all around me. "She's not coming back, Thomas," I said softly. "But it's okay. You don't have to wait anymore. You can go find her now." I spoke to him for hours, telling him about the world outside, about how much time had passed. I told him his mother would be waiting for him just somewhere else. I told him he was a good boy for waiting so long, but his watch was over. As dawn approached, the crying began to subside. The oppressive cold in the room started to lift, replaced by a feeling of peace. The shimmer in the chair flickered one last time, and for a moment I felt a gentle, cool touch on my hand, like a child's small fingers brushing against mine. And then a final whispered thought in my mind. "Thank you." And then he was gone. The silence that filled the room was different this time. It wasn't heavy or threatening, it was just quiet. Truly quiet. The house felt lighter, warmer. The scent of rain on dry earth was gone. The cold spots vanished. I still live in the house. It's no longer a place of fear, but a place of quiet remembrance. Sometimes when the house creaks, I smile. I'm no longer a skeptic. I know that some stories don't end. They just wait for someone to listen. Thanks for sticking with me through that story. It's one that has certainly stuck with me. If you enjoy tales that blur the line between our world and the next, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more to explore together. See you next time.